How's it going, YouTube? It is the Small Engine Kid here. Today we have an FS110R trimmer. This is my personal trimmer. I use it a lot. As you can see, it's well worked. But when I use it, it works for about 30 minutes, and then when I turn it off to turn it back on again, it doesn't turn on. It's really hard to start after. So that issue is the valves. I haven't set the valves in quite a long time. I probably use this trimmer about 20 hours a day, and I haven't done the valves in about a year or two. You're supposed to do the valves every 50 to 100 hours, and I neglected this machine. But in this video, we'll be doing a full tune-up: air filter, spark plug, valve cover gasket, setting the valves, and then cleaning everything up and adjusting the throttle. It's kind of sticky because I want to see how long I can use this machine before it completely craps out on me. So let's get to it. The tools you're going to need to use are a flathead screwdriver to get this one off, a kind of a hook to go in the gas tank and remove the old fuel filter, and then you're going to need a Torx 25 size bit to take the 4 screws out to lift up this plastic cover. First things first, remove the spark plug cover, or the spark plug boot, I should say. That gets in the way of the plastic cover here. And now you're going to need to remove 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 torque head bolts, and then the plastic cover should come right off. Just remove the air filter cover here. I'm going to use a flashlight so I can see better to inspect the air filter. I think I changed this earlier in the year. Don't quite remember. But if it's still good, no point in changing it. It's really stuck in there. So yeah, this air filter is still good. The back side is still clean. I always use OEM parts. I don't use any knockoff parts on the expensive equipment anyways. But air filter is still good. Now if we lay this on its side here, kind of, see if I can lay it right now that we have it on its side, kind of look in here, take a look at the fuel lines, inspect the fuel lines, make sure that the fuel lines aren't hard, they don't need to be replaced. It's actually pretty clean there, surprisingly how much I use this thing and kind of don't do maintenance on it. But next thing we're going to do is remove the orange cover here so I can look inside of where behind all the gunk and stuff is. It looks like there's some gunk back there. I'm just going to clean it all up. That could also cause some overheating, causing it not to start again. So let's get that plastic cover off. So I just removed the orange cover here. Now let's turn on that flashlight and look around. There's some debris, which is obviously normal. Spark plug looks good, but I'm going to take a look at that. All the wiring here is not pinched by anything. There's no leaks. Usually the crank seal starts leaking after a while, but this one's still good. The throttle position is not cracked. Usually it cracks. So if I give it some throttle, it's pretty sticky. I'm going to clean up the debris in there and then tighten the throttle cable just a smidge. And we'll go from there. So next step is you're going to want to remove the Torx bit on the valve cover here. So that's another Torx 25. So let's remove that. Now when you're removing these screws, I like to use just a regular T-handle or a screwdriver. I don't like using an impact driver on here because you might break the bolts and then you're screwed. Anyways, when you're taking this bolt out, make sure that there's a copper washer on it. See right there in the bottom of the bolt, there's a copper washer. Make sure that that has it on there. Now let's pop off this valve cover. Make sure the gasket is there, which it is. And this one, there's a lot of oil in there. Make sure to clean all this debris off with a brake clean and then some compressed air. So put that to the side. Now for your valves, there's an arrow on the flywheel. I'll show you how to get to it. Okay, so make sure you have your flashlight handy. There is an arrow on the flywheel on the outside of the fins here that points up. You want that arrow lined up with the spark plug hole. So let's remove the spark plug to make it easier to turn over the engine. Let's check the condition of the spark plug here. Oh, still quite nice. So not too rich. It'll focus. Not too rich, not too lean. So I'm gonna clean this back up, re-gap it, and reinstall it. All right, so we took the valve cover off, the spark plug out. I'm gonna turn the crank by hand here. And there's gonna be an arrow on the flywheel, and you're gonna want that arrow pointing up and flush with the, or side by side with the spark plug hole. So the arrow is actually right there, right here. That's the arrow, and you want that lined up as best as you can with the spark plug hole. So right there, there's the arrow right there, and it's lined up perfectly with the spark plug hole. Next step is to clean all this debris and all this old gunky oil from the valves. So let's spray some brake clean or carb cleaner and clean it all up. Next step is you're going to want to get a feeler gauge. In this case, this one is actually made for this type of work, but it's a 4/1000 of an inch thick. So you're going to want to place in here. You're going to want some resistance. In this case, this one does have some resistance, but this one does not. See how loose this one is? Like I can probably put 2 of these in there. So these are 5/16 or an 8mm size. So put that in there. Grab your 8mm or 5/16. Turn it ever so slightly. Check your clearance. Still too loose, just keep going. And once it's got a little bit of a drag on it, then you're good to go. So now that we adjusted those, that should have some drag on it. And it does. Okay, and this one got the same amount of drag. Next, clean the gasket surface here. Get a rag. We'll clean up all the debris and leftover brake clean from before. Clean that up, and then we're going to install our new gasket and our new copper washer to go on top of here. Here's the part number for the gasket, valve cover gasket, and here's the valve cover bolt copper washer. Here's the part number there. Now that this is all clean, place your gasket on. Now there's grooves around here to secure the gasket from falling off. Make sure that's all properly seated around, just like this. These little squares around. Make sure it's on the outside so it doesn't come loose when you're tightening it down. Make sure it's all seated. Okay, once it's all seated, it should look like this. Now grab your valve cover. Wherever I put that, here we go. Make sure this is all cleaned up. Make sure all the gasket surfaces are all clean. You're gonna wanna put that back on top like this. Okay, now grab your copper washer. Make sure to remove the old copper washer from the bolt. Install your new copper washer and tighten it down. So here's our new copper washer. Let's install this on the bolt, just like so. Grab the bolt. Start threading it by hand. You don't want to cross thread it or anything. And once it starts getting tighter, grab your tool and then start tightening it like this. Once you get it hand tight, I always do maybe like a quarter turn to make sure it's good. There you go. Next step is, you know what? I think I'm just gonna go ahead and just replace the spark plug in general. I have a new one in here. So the OEM spec for the spark plug is a Bosch US R7 AC. Check the gap on that, but that should be roughly about a 25 gap on it. So let's go ahead and install it on here. The size you need is a 5/8 socket. So go ahead and put it on there. Next step is to grab your fuel filter. I actually don't have the part number for this, but it is an OEM filter. One way to give it away is that it's orange and black, but actually the part number is on there. Quad 000 358 3400A. There's the part number if you guys want to pause it and look it up. So next you're going to want to pop the fuel cap. Okay, put that off to the side and grab your hook, or your fuel line grabber hook, I guess is what it's called. And you're going to want to feed it through there until you grab the fuel filter. So this is a two-hand procedure. You're going to want to pry it off. Okay. And as you hold it there, you're going to want to use your fingers, pull the fuel line back off, and put the new fuel filter back on. It's a 2-second procedure. I just can't do it one-handed. Once the old fuel filter is off and the new one's on, as you can see, that just popped right back in there. Push it to the back of the tank. Reinstall your fuel cap. Make sure it's airtight so you don't have any leaks. So once it gets snug, I always do a little bit more. That's garbage, so we'll put that there. Next, I like to clean out the debris on the inside of the air filter here. This one's clean enough to reuse, so I'm going to reuse the old one we had, and make sure that when you put it on, it clips in place. You don't want any debris getting past, so make sure it's all pushed in properly. Okay. Next, you're going to want to get your air filter cover. I like to clean all this excess oil and debris. Make sure it's all cleaned up. Okay. And then put it back on its place like that. Tighten it down. All right, as you can see, the carburetor throttle position, where it is right there, is quite clean. I cleaned it with the brake clean, so now the throttle snaps back in place. I didn't even have to adjust it. I just cleaned the debris, and it snaps back like it's supposed to. So now let's reinstall the plastic cover piece here. Make sure that the spark plug boot goes through the hole first. If not, it'll get stuck. So make sure it's through there. Push it down. Make sure that this is out, and it seats right back to where it's supposed to. Double check all the clearances here and make sure that everything is seated properly. The first bolt that I like to install is the one that holds it in place, so right here. So I like to grab that one and just hand thread it in there first. So make sure it's lined properly, like so, and then hand tighten it there, or hand start it up. So I started it up, I warmed it up, let it idle. It idles perfectly, and it fixed the issue of the setting the valves. So let it warm up, try it again, and it works. If you do this, make sure that you have the proper tool. You can go on Amazon and find this valve clearance tool. It's 4/1000 of an inch. Make sure you have this tool. Set your valves, warm it up, try again. Thanks for watching. You can leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll get you guys in the next video. Peace out.